We saw a 26% drop in home sales year over year. What does that mean for you? Is it a sign of a slowing market, or is it just a temporary blip? The truth is, it's not black and white, and that's exactly why you need to pay attention. In today's market update, we are going beyond the headlines. In fact, we will dig into the data, explore how recent US tariffs could be stirring up the market activity, and look ahead to the Bank of Canada's upcoming rate announcement. Most importantly, I will share how both the buyers and sellers can prepare to navigate these unpredictable conditions. If you are wondering whether now is the right time to make your move or if you should hold tight, you are in the right place. Let's dive in and make sense of what's really happening in Kitchener-Waterloo's real estate market. Stay tuned and let's get right in. Okay, so let's dive straight in. You can probably see my screen by now, and we're gonna pull up this February report that just came out. New listings on the rise, sales on the decline. Let's break this further down. What we are seeing in the month of February, 363 homes were sold in the region via the MLS system, and that actually is down by 26% compared to the February of 2024. So year over year, it's down by 26%. However, if you were to look at a previous 10 years average, it's even worse. It's actually down by close to 40%. Now, we will see if that trend continues. What we are seeing is sellers have come in herds back in the market since the beginning of 2025, but we are yet to see the same level of excitement from the buyers. If that was to happen, we will see this number of homes sold will continue to increase, but it'll be very interesting to see as we are heading into a lot of uncertain times towards the spring market. So the breakdown of what's sold, majority of the detached homes, followed by some townhomes and a small fraction of condo units, as well as the semi-detached. Average prices have been fairly flat. I won't dive too much detail. In fact, I will link this report in the description so you can take a closer look at everything. I will give you a high-level summary in this video. One thing I do want to particularly note, if you are into the condo, whether it's buying or selling, there is a trend that's emerging in the condo market, which we are seeing here in Waterloo region, where we noted about 5 months of inventory in the month of January. With the increased inventory, we are seeing some price pressure, signs of price pressure in the condo market, where we are seeing close to 6% decrease from last year and about 7% decrease from last month. Now, this could just be the one-off situation. We don't know. But I would closely track this number if I would be a condo owner or if I'm interested in buying a condominium. But take a step further, overall, this is what you want to be looking at, the home price index tool, because this is the gold standard to really reflect the average, the accurate price of a particular property. Overall composition, you can see in Kitchener-Waterloo, virtually no change month over month, barely any change. So it's safe to say market price-wise has been fairly flat, both the month over month and year over year. Now it'll be interesting to see if this changes with the sharp increase in inventory month over month, and especially if that inventory is not getting sold, if they are not getting off the shelf. That'll be very interesting to see if that eventually brings some price pressure or sellers just decide rather not to sell or cancel the listings. But that's where we have to take a closer look as we get more reports come in the spring market. Well, I am gonna dive straight into the charts now. We already did look at some of the data. We looked at the sales and the composition of it. We saw 363 homes. We can actually skip this part too, the average sales price. Like I said, for the long-term trend, this is a great number to look at, but it won't truly reflect the activity or the prices which way they are heading in the short run. You want to be looking at HPI, benchmark price, home price index tool, benchmark price for those average and median price to see where they are heading in the short run. Going further down with the median sales price, in a nutshell, what it means, for example, as you can see, February 2025, the median sales price for all the property types, composition of all of them, was $720,000. What that actually means is nearly half of the homes were sold above $720,000, while the other half were sold below 720. So that's how we arrive at the median sales price. And you can see that's also fairly flat. So it goes hand in hand, like we saw that HPI tool fairly flat, and it does reflect in the median sales price too. 720 in the month of January, virtually no change if you look at the all property types. Taking a step further into the average days on market, now here's where we are seeing some decline, which are some encouraging signs that buyers have somewhat responded to the increase in inventory. So it was back in January, it was about 34 days. That's how much it was taking on an average. Now it's down to 24 days. We'll see if that continues to go down. That would be a sign that yes, buyers are gradually responding to the sharp increase in inventory, but it's still too early to pan anything out to see what we are seeing here. Months of supply, we obviously saw like January about 900 homes. I think February, we will see how many new listings came up, but about the same. That's why we see an increase month over month. In fact, since December, right? We had 2 months of supply. Now it's heading closer to 3 months of supply. So it'll be interesting to see if that number continues to go up, then things start to move in the buyer's control. Buyers start to call the shots if we see more inventory come into the market and not selling as quickly. New listings, we saw roughly 850 new homes that hit the market in the month of February, on the top of nearly 900 homes that hit the market in the month of January. Now, just keep in mind, guys, this is a typical trend we see to begin the year. As I had mentioned, December is usually down, and we saw that, right? But come Jan and Feb, sellers do get excited. They want to make the most of the spring market, and that's the sign. But the trend we are seeing, the buyers are not responding yet, despite the consecutive rate cuts. And I think we have one plan next week, which is likely going to be at least a quarter basis point rate cut. We'll cover that part, but we are still not seeing buyers nearly as excited. And finally, homes for sale. As a result of sharp increase, we are seeing close to 1,450 active listings in the Waterloo region for the month of February as of this report. So that tells you, as a buyer, there are lots of options. You can do your condition, you can do your due diligence. I will dive into that, how to basically what my take on this report. But this is an encouraging sign for the buyers. But yes, there is a caveat to it. We can't undermine the uncertainty in the broader economy, the unemployment, the job data, everything that's all connected, right? Especially with the tariff threat that's pretty much at our doorstep. The tariff was just announced this week. And with that in play, I think we are looking at a completely different ball game. Honestly, we have not seen anything like that happen to the Canadian economy. So it'll be very interesting to see how the economy will respond to this situation and how the broader housing market also will react to that tariff situation now in the play. Finally, this is the dollar volume of sales. Again, we are not seeing a huge volume, and it reflects because of the activity. And you can see the average sales price fairly around that 700 mark, which is pretty much, it's safe to say that's the average price anyways for a home in Kitchener. You are not seeing a huge volume. That can only go up if the number of transactions were to go up. But this is a nice to know number. It does not, as a buyer or seller, it does not really give you an accurate picture of which way things are heading. But yeah, the volumes are fairly slow. It's safe to say that. So now that we have looked at the data, let's take it a step further and see what you can really make out of this market condition and how we can really navigate if you're a buyer or seller in this market. Well, there's no easy answer to this, right? Because especially with the tariff situation at play right now, it's going to be incredibly difficult to predict anything. Like if someone is predicting things going this way or that way, honestly, it's false, right? Because we have never seen anything like that, in our economy in the past. If you look at the historically, we have not seen a tariff threat or a trade war at play for the Canadian economy. So having said that, we are clearly seeing signs of anxiety amongst the Canadian people. Like obviously we are seeing signs of sellers coming back in the market, but the buyers are not really responding with as much of an excitement. What that tells you? Well, it's not the rates that's holding them anymore. We saw I think 6th consecutive rate cut so far. in the last few months, and this is going to be the 7th one next year. I can tell you it's likely going to be at least a quarter basis point rate cut, if not a jumbo rate cut of 50 basis point, but you're definitely looking at least 25 basis point rate cut into the next announcement. But so the rates are not really holding back the buyers anymore, more than likely. I think it's the broader economic conditions, the unemployment rate, and more so now with the tariff situation at play, there is a clear sign of uncertainty in the economic conditions, and that obviously plays out in the housing market, and that's why we are not seeing nearly as many buyers. They're deciding to stay on the sidelines until things settle down. Having said all of that, my take, if you're a buyer, is this for you, and whether you like it or not, this is a good time to consider buying a house, provided you meet two conditions. And when I say consider buying a house, I'm not saying for investing or flipping or renting or anything like that. I'm talking to you as an end user. If you're a buyer, whether it's a first-time home buyer or a move-up buyer looking to get into something bigger, this could be a good time, provided you are an end user and meet two main conditions. One, you have a stable employment that is not gonna get affected. At least you know that okay, I don't think I'm gonna lose my job, and if I do, I have good amount of skill set and the type of skill I have is in demand, that I will be able to easily find another job right away, and when I say right away, in 3 to 6 months. Second condition is that beside the stable employment, you do want to have at least somewhere between 4 to 6 months of cash flow that is saved up. I'm not talking about your down payment or your closing cost, but besides all that money, you want to have at least, somewhere around 4 to 6 months. So if your monthly cash flow for housing and your day-to-day expenses, let's say $5,000 or $6,000, you want to have at least somewhere around $25,000 to $35,000 saved up besides all that down payment and closing costs. So that will give you a cushion shall something uncertain was to happen, because the market conditions are very hard to predict these days, and it'll be very interesting to see how things will pan out. So that's how you prepare yourself as a buyer before you go out and buy a home. Now, if those two conditions are meeting, I can tell you guys it's a great time for you to consider buying a home. We just saw like 1,500 new listings in the market right now. And it's not joke. There are lots of sellers out in the market. You have lots of options. You can do your conditions, you can do your inspection, all those things. So it's a great time. And more importantly, you are able to negotiate with the sellers. I can tell you, for the last 3 deals I did, we did negotiate heavily with the sellers. In fact, we negotiated with the builder the other day. I will not name the builder, but the renowned builder here in Kitchener area, we were able to negotiate a price with them. So those conditions barely existed in the recent past. So that's why I say it's a great time for you to consider buying if you are meeting some of those conditions I mentioned. On the other hand, if you are a seller in this market, well, I would say patience would be the virtue. Stay on the course. You gotta, it's not gonna sell just by putting the sign out on your front yard. You wanna have someone that represents you, who knows what they're doing, who are also having the marketing on point. Your pricing, you can't just play around with it up and down, move it here and there. You have to keep your pricing exactly to what your competition is doing and make your property as much appealing and as much competitive in this market, because we just saw ton of new sellers are coming out down on your street, behind your, other side of your street, in your neighborhood. So it's highly likely that you are competing with the other seller for your property. So and of course we saw there are not as many buyers in the market. So as a seller, you have to stay on course. You want to make sure the agent you're working with, again, this is not to solicit my service to any seller who is in the contract, but the seller agent that you're working with is competent enough and representing your best interest and representing the property in the best way possible. That's what you want to make sure in this market, because like I said, putting a sign, putting it on MLS, putting it on the front yard, doing a couple of open houses, it's not gonna sell your property for the price that you desire. So that's my take on it, and it's a very candid coming from the heart, whether you like it or not. But nonetheless, if you got some value, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and tap on that bell so you get notified when a new video pops out. And whether you are thinking of moving in or out of Kitchener, whether it's 9 days or 9 months, if you want to just talk about these market conditions and share your thoughts, be sure to comment below or even give me a call. I'm very easy to talk to. Whether you are thinking of moving in 9 days or 9 months, all my info is right below in the description. I'll be more than happy to help you make a smooth move in and around Kitchener-Waterloo. Until next time, well, I will continue to show you around town.